feel the media? I mean, I noticed, in Utah, the press is becoming a little bit more accepting of the phenomenon. They're starting to cover it, which is fantastic. We had a mass sighting in Utah on October 2nd, and it was great to see news agencies calling me and then communicating over in Denver, and so that gives me hope.
It's getting better. It's been getting better for years.
Yeah,
there's been more and more coverage of more and more stuff. That has been the improvement. But the one thing that has stayed the same is that the way news is supposed to work is they cover the news. This happened, that happened, you write it up, you write it up, you write it up. And then something happens that's got implications. And there's more needed to know, okay? And at that point, they're supposed to go into investigative mode, and they're supposed to start digging to get more information about the story that they've heard about. And of course, they've done that countless times. We know that. They have awards every year for investigative journalism. But in the area of the national security area and the military intelligence complex, increasingly, they don't do that. They don't follow up, right? And so this is giving license to the military intelligence complex to pretty much do whatever they want. That's a bad thing. On this issue, that's exactly what they've done. They will not go into investigation mode. So no matter what happens, they're not going to go to the Pentagon and ask about it. They're not going to go to the White House and ask about it. That is kind of the understanding. That's what we'll call the current protocol, but then standard protocol of the truth embargo, engineered by the government, maintained, developed, which kind of runs itself now. So that one protocol, that one understanding is hugely effective, right? So we break that protocol, and that's pretty much the ballgame.
I hope we can do that. I wanted to ask you, because I know that you briefly worked with Dr. John Mack.
Yeah. Well, and I was a volunteer to his organization.
And I'm a big. He
was a great man.
He was a great man.
Great man.
So tell me about any experiences you had there. I know that you felt that you needed to move in a different direction and that you would become this advocate.
I was a volunteer, and it was his group, the Program for Extraordinary Experience Research, PEER, and it was in Cambridge, and he had engaged the issue and written the book Abduction, and now he's interviewing and working with hypnotic work with contactees and trying to develop some scientific results. They did write a paper or two that got published. And so that's why I started, because I had to start somewhere. And I'd read, and his book influenced me a lot. So I actually was able to persuade them, still to this day, I don't know how I did it, to let me come out and volunteer. So I go out and I volunteer. I'm trying to help out. I'm doing what you can do. But it's kind of an academic with an academic board. And I'm sort of an outlying renegade kind of guy.
I never would have guessed that about you.
And so, it wasn't a good fit. And at some point, it was like, okay, thanks for your help, gotta go. And so I realized, okay, I'm gonna have to move on. And it was there. And of course, this moment probably doesn't come unless they give me that opportunity. Now, I would have entered somewhere else. I would have done something else. But this was a very, very positive door to go through. And so I was sitting in the office in Cambridge. I don't know, I had not much time left, maybe a week or something. And I'm thinking, what should I do? And I swear to God, it just fell right into place. I'd lived in Washington off and on for years. I knew it. I knew how to get around. I had family there, place to live. And I said, this isn't a science problem. It hasn't been. You can pile evidence on top of evidence. The government will just say ignore it. They won't say anything. And they've already got the colleges out of it, so they're not going to go anywhere. So you have to have a political solution. All right, well, then you could engage the politics. I mean, you can live in D.C. pretty much free. What would I do? Well, first of all, nobody was doing any of that, really. Right, so it was wide open.
Yeah, and you were so good at it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that at the time. I suspected it might work out. Anyway, I went and I said, well, what did I do? And then it occurred to me, and this is the thing that launches me out of Cambridge. I was pretty certain that no one had ever registered as a lobbyist on this issue. And I knew that lobbying registrations were all tracked. They had to be all tracked. I mean, somebody could come in and register a lobbyist for some country, Belarus or Saudi Arabia. The press wants to know that, right? And political operatives want to know that. And so they always check these to see what's going on. And I was pretty sure when my registration came by on their desk, and they saw, and they obviously checked the issues. When they saw the issues, which was the ending the truth embargo and getting to suppress technology and things like that. In other words, extraterrestrial. They were going to go what, and they were going to get story. And so I said, oh my God, I've got to get down there because someone else might sign up, do it before I did. Because it's such a great idea, right? And so I rushed to get everything tidied up and get out of the apartment. So I creep on down to Washington. It takes forever. I get in, move in, and 2 days later, I register as a lobbyist on this issue. You got it. And guess what? About 2 months after that, the Washington Post comes out and interviews me for a front page, business section front page article. The whole friggin' page. All right, with a giant photograph, one of the worst I ever took. It looked awful, and I'm going, hey, this is exactly the way I thought it would go, and that was the beginning. That was when things started to happen, right? I'm a player now. I don't know much, but I'm a player. Now, the funny thing about it, and of course, one of the reasons I was able to do this is that I had a place to live for free, and I wasn't going to get paid anything. You see, I'm volunteering still. It's called pro bono when you go pro. So the interesting thing is, it's now been 18 years later, and nobody else has actually registered as a lobbyist on this issue. So apparently I had a little more time to, I could have, maybe hired rented a U-Haul trailer and put my stuff in there and not risk the lives of people on the freeway.
But you know what, though? You had tenacity right from the get-go, and you were excited. I mean, how would you encourage the younger generation to get involved and to make a difference in this movement?
It's really tough because the younger generation has known nothing but the truth embargo since the day they're. Well, actually, that's true of everybody, baby boomer living. They've known nothing but the media manipulation and the stuff really intense, certainly in the 90s. So a lot of them, they have no idea. Yeah. So they like science fiction. They go to all the movies. But in terms of this, it's just not their thing. And they have the life to lead and all kinds of cool stuff to do, like getting married and have babies, whatever. And so it's just not an issue that is really compelling for them.
And that's too bad. How do we change it? That's been my big thing. I feel it's so important. And I think there's an age, we've got the over 60 crowd. They're interested, they know, they've seen all of these things, they've been there, but then we have a real dumbing down, I think, of society, and people are, looking at their iPads, their iPhones, there's no interaction, and I think, to me, I believe that some of that is deliberate.
That theory is out there. We have a society that's dysfunctional, and given the dysfunction, I don't think we actually need any intent. The dysfunction is going to generate these problems, these issues that you just mentioned, without somebody orchestrating it, some puppet master. This happens to all successful societies. It's happened in the past. It's nothing new. You get to a success level, and then suddenly, unless this is accounted for, you start to lose the vitality. You start to become slothful, and the thing deteriorates. Now, what's different this time is that the major nation, this major social contract that is starting to deteriorate, has 25,000 nuclear weapons. That's not like Rome, okay? It's a little different, okay? So we really can't afford those kind of cycles, and so we need to not do that. So, but the other point you made is very good. One of the reasons that has made this movement difficult and slow, in spite of the massive amount of evidence in the public domain, is that unlike the civil rights, say, movement, or the women's vote movement, where there was an absolute compelling intersection with every one of the affected parties, right? You do not have that here. A 25-year-old does not have an immediate compelling intersection in their life having to do with extraterrestrials. If they're a contactee, they do. And they know it, they do, but that's still probably 2% of the population. And so you're out there trying to do this. There is no real compelling reason for them to suddenly jump in with money, with whatever. And so that makes it much easier for the government to continue the status quo. And overcoming that problem was probably the reason why nobody wanted to take it on. It was like, I mean, if you want to take on a movement, for God's sakes, go save the whales. I mean, if you're saving whales, you can't, it's so easy to raise money, it's not even funny. I mean, the Sea Shepherd fleet in the Antarctic has raised, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 million dollars in order to save some whales, because that is an easy thing to explain. That's another example. It's not directly impacting somebody's life, but it is clearly impacting their emotions. And it's evident. You can show pictures of carved whales. And so that's easy. You do that. You go down there and you get in those boats and you race around in freezing water, and then you have a reality show. It's actually pretty cool. You don't do this. But I was too stupid to know that. In fact, the number one most important trait that I have for leading this movement is I'm too damn dumb to know it can't be done.
I don't buy that.
No, it's true. I mean, intellectually, I should know you can't do this. And I have a lot of people that are smarter than me that tell me you can't do this. It's not possible. It will not happen. And they make very compelling arguments. And I always say the same thing. You're much smarter than me. I'm too damn dumb to know you can't do it. And as it happens, that particular trait has resulted in some serious social progress. It just has. Because in fact, nothing is theoretically impossible. And we always overestimate how difficult things are. And so we need people like me who don't have the ability to actually estimate the risk. Well, this also gets me in trouble if I visit casinos. Okay, that could be a problem too.
We should never hang out together.
Too damn dumb
then.
to know that you never play Keno. Never, never. The odds are unbelievably bad. No, I would never play Keno. I'm not that stupid. So that gives you a sense of it, right?
Right. Well, and I am a lot like you. I see something and I'm passionate, and it's a track straight there, and I don't look at the risks or the opposition that I'll face, and I do it because I believe in it, and so you're a great figure for me.
Well, a lot of the people that are in the field, maybe they've joined MUFON or running MUFON groups and so forth, kind of that frame of mind. I mean, they realize this is tough, but they don't care.
You don't, but this has been interesting for me to get really involved with this and see how, though, unfortunately, and as you know, there are a lot of critics, a lot of skeptics, debunkers that will come after you full force. What do you think about that, or do you think about that?
I haven't had that much of a problem, and the reason is I entered in '96. Nobody even knew who I was really for about a year and a half, and so by the time I'm a target and had my websites up, it's 98, 99. So it's on a different time. So I didn't have to put up with the kind of skeptic stuff that people had to put up in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Very fortunate for me. What has happened is I have developed some enemies who they're not really skeptics. In other words, I'm not attacked by skeptics virtually. They don't come at me at all. They tend to focus on researchers, and there's less of them now anyway, a lot less. But I developed some enemies who just don't like me, and they will attack just me. So whatever I do, if I win the Nobel Peace Prize, they're going to go, "That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen." Because they did that with Obama. They should never have given that idiot the Nobel Peace Prize. I have those kind of people, but I don't have skeptics that try to come at me because I really don't give them much to work with.
Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, I think that there's a handful that have nothing better to do, and so they'll sit around on Facebook, and they do. People get involved with them, and we just need to let them, self-destruct.
That is an occupational hazard of being human. Always people like that exist, and now in the age of the internet, they can present themselves much more easily, and so you deal with them in your life, but now you almost have to deal with them. In other words, no matter what you're doing, they will turn up if you're working with the web. And some people have had trouble adjusting to that, and they get really upset. Oh my God, I can't believe it. People will say things on the internet now about people that in 1960 they wouldn't dream of writing in a newspaper, or even saying publicly to people because they could get sued. Now it's free range.
Yeah,
so
you can hide behind your computer and slander somebody, and
or just challenge their work and say it's bogus or whatever. Yeah.
But some of these people are they are hateful. I mean, I am amazed at the disrespect that people that have worked their whole lives.
Well, that's manifest across every field. People that are disrespectful, hateful, and nasty now have a clear ability to function on the net, and they're taking advantage of it. Before the internet, it's not so easy. You know, I mean, when are you going to go up to a bar and just say, you know, I don't like the looks of your face? Yeah, and the guy hits you with a bottle. Now, yeah, you put it on his, you send him a Facebook message, and he's living in, you know, Maine, and you're in Los Angeles. And you realize there's little chance he's coming to Los Angeles with a bottle. And so now and you do that, you're going, hey, I can get away with this. And so in the early days of the internet, it's really cool. And you don't hear this anymore. You don't hear this term anymore. Virtually don't hear it. But it had a trajectory, because in the early days of the internet, you know, mid 90s up through 2000, maybe even in the bulletin boards in the early 90s, it was the Wild West. It was the Wild West. It was just like going to Nebraska or Texas in 1850, right? And people would go at it and back and forth, and they called this, when it would get really intense, flame wars. They were called flame wars. So, and they would say, people, you know, that person is flaming me, right? And I'm flaming them back. And they would just insult each other, and it would go on for days and weeks, and they were called flame wars. Well, you know, eventually, now, it sort of burned itself out appropriately, right? Because, you know, it doesn't go anywhere, and you don't hear it anymore. Now, you can still have some pretty heavy stuff happen on Facebook, where you get things going, and on the comments to article sections, people can get really ridiculous.
They can.
Because it's pretty much anonymous in most cases. So now what you have, Mo, is and some of these flame wars were kind of almost deliberately intentional and funny. It was like everybody was being Don Rickles. Now what you have is more selective stuff, where people will decide you're a target and they want to get nasty, and those that have adjusted to the new paradigm, right, realize that, you know, I have to blow this off. I mean, maybe 25 years ago, I would have to do something about this. But in this age, you know, there's nothing you can do. So forget about it.
You know, that's good, and that's something I'll learn, probably.
Yeah, work on it.
I know. It's therapy, I guess.
Are you a Sagittarius? No. What are you?
Aries. I'm an Aries.
Okay. Well, I actually, I don't know if this is a trait to Sagittarians, but it's a common trait. I'm one of these people that wants everyone to like them. Are you like that?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm getting better, but
yeah. And if somebody doesn't like me, it's like, what is wrong here? I mean, if there's something amiss in the universe, I must fix this, right? Now, there are other people in this world. They're not happy unless somebody doesn't like them, right? And they thrive on that. And there really can be a problem. I have a different problem. And so I've had to adjust, and I have really adjusted. I've got a lot of people out there that really hate me, and I am really cool with it. It's like, cool, all right, no problem.
I'm going to be calling you.
Yeah.
You're going to have to walk me through this.
It's like, you know, yeah. It can be really tough if somebody hears something that they say to somebody you like and know, and they come at you and say, but that doesn't happen that much because everybody's adjusting. They sort of know, okay, X just called so-and-so a what, you know? And they're going, yeah, but that happens all the time. Probably not true, and I don't care. And that's good. We're adjusting. Now, whether civility will improve on the internet in the future, or maybe the government will take it away, I don't know. But it is an important thing to do. I've already gone through one libel situation on the net, and it was very unpleasant, and I acted finally legally when I had to, and what I discovered is you got a snowball's chance of solving the problem legally unless you've got $100,000. Forget about it. So it's like, it's open season to libel people. But that's just in general. Screw that, don't care. The interesting thing is that as the media has covered this issue more and more, meaning they're covering it, they're not asking the questions that will resolve it, but they're covering it, and the information is spreading wider and wider, no, you're not on good ground if you decide to be a debunker, right? Not Phil Klass, but just a debunker. And so somebody posts an article, and you say some silly thing about it. It doesn't mean somebody's going to respond to that and say, you know, you're an idiot. And so it's becoming less attractive to people to pile on this issue, UFO issue, because it's not UFOs anymore, it's extraterrestrials. That is another good sign that we're approaching a breaking point.